and welcome to another segment of Appetizers for Success. My name is John Arnold, and I'm an executive coach, and I'm here with my wonderful partner and colleague, Marilena Beuses. Marilena?
Hi, John, and welcome everybody to this wonderful series. And today we have a very special guest. I'm also an executive coach, and if you have seen through our series, we have wonderful leaders in different organizations that provide us with their wisdom. And we're just here to dialogue with them. And today we have wonderful Brenda Victoria, who is the Global VP of Talent for World Fuel Services Corporation. So welcome, Brenda, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you, John, and thank you, Marilena.
We've known Brenda for a while. We're going to not tell how many years, but a long time. And
yes.
Made incredible progress in her HR career as well. So congratulations about
your
new posting as a Global VP of HR or Talent, excuse me, in WFSC. That's how you guys go by that. So
yes.
Hey, Brenda, we wanted to spend a little bit of time with you so you can tell us more about your experiences on hiring executive coaches. What is that like? What is the selection process like?
Yes, so one of the things that I like to do is, and both of you, we have connected in a similar fashion. I like to build a pool of coaches that we can identify and tag their skill set and their strength, their area of focus, so that when we have the opportunity to start matching coaches with some of our executives, we already know what is your niche area as an executive coach. What are, and many of you specialize in multiple areas, but there are some things that become more natural, especially I can think about many times we need somebody who needs a leader who has to improve their executive presence, or they need to improve their ability to connect the dots and develop a cohesive strategy. So it is important for us, or at least on my side of the equation, to know as an executive coach, what is the strength or what are the multiple areas that you excel at. So we build that inventory or that pool so that when we have the opportunity to match a leader with an executive coach, we can easily go into that pool. Then we extract probably 2 or 3 names based on what we know and our experiences together and these areas of strength. And we provide the leader with a slate, if you will, where he or she can connect with 3 options or 2 or 3 options and identify with whom you would develop a better rapport as a leader, because it is important for us to make sure that there is a very strong connection between the coach and the leader, as you well know. And in some cases, when you're starting from scratch and you don't have a previous relationship, you need to build that rapport. So we give the leader an opportunity to pick out of the 3 individuals in the slate the one that he or she identify themselves better, either in terms of the approach that you use for coaching, or either because you just had that connection and that rapport established during an initial conversation. So that's how we like to structure the executive coaching matches. And I've done this in different organizations, and it has proven to work in some cases.
Mm-hmm. Did you, so talking about that, it's wonderful that you give them options, but how well prepared, because John and I have faced this in the past, how prepared are they really to make that decision? I mean, do they know what coaching is? Do you prep them? Do they know what they're looking for in a coach? How do you prepare them for that selection process?
That's a great question. We do take the time to prepare our leaders. As you know, executive coaching it's a big investment. We want to make sure that the leader that the relationship works, that we can get the results out of the coaching engagement, and setting it up properly to begin with is a big part of it. So the kinds of things that we cover with the leader, it is what is executive coaching and what is not, right? So this is what you can expect, and this is what we're not. And just a joke aside, we used to joke with the leader that we say, well, coaching is not therapy, okay? So this is there's a different need and a different approach for that. So we talk to them about what it is and what can they expect from their relationship. We provide, we give them examples of the kinds of things that they should be looking for. And it depends on their developmental need. That is why having very clear view on what is the developmental need that this leader has to address is so important, because the questions and what they should be looking in the executive coach have to be based not only about our styles and making sure that we have a good rapport and connection, but also to make sure that they will be addressing and providing value to what the leader needs to develop. So those are some of the tips that we give them. We provide them bios in advance. We ask them to review and make sure that you know who you're talking to before you connect, so that the conversation is meaningful and we're not wasting anybody's time, quite frankly.
That sets up for the next question. And so there's a lot of time and some money that goes into even setting up for an executive coaching assignment or engagement, correct? How do you look at measuring success of an executive coaching engagement? What does that look like?
Yes, I think there is a qualitative aspect of the success, and then there is something that can be quantified, because as you know, I mean, back in the organization, at the end of the day, bottom line is that the leader is able to turn around and change the areas that this individual needs to improve. And that is easy, and an easy way to quantify that has to do with the results from the engagement of their teams. So in some organizations, for example, that use Net Promoter Scores, it's very easy to leverage that quick type of qualifier and see how their ratings improve just after a couple of months of in the engagement, for example. So so that's, for example, one way of quantify it. But from a qualitative perspective, another element of success to me, I think, first of all, is does the leader develop such a strong connection that they want to continue in the coaching engagement? Are they engaged enough that past the 6-month mark, they want to renew and they want to continue working with the individual? With the caveat that is not a endless relationship, but it is a good indicator that not only has the leader put in, they're getting something out, that they're getting value out. So it's not a quantifiable way, but to me, it's a good indication that the relationship is working. The other aspect has to do with the balance between understanding the progress from the leader, from the coach's perspective, without divulging any confidential information. Right. But I mean, we've had these engagements before, and we know how important it is for the executive coach to provide some degrees of insights back to the organization, to give the organization a sense of progress. So that, to me, again, it's another big ticket item. It's having that symbiotic relationship in which we can learn more about the progress and how the leader is doing, protecting, of course, the confidentiality of the process. But having some visibility into that is important.
Thank you so much.
And I think you said something that is critical for us as well, as coaches, as we're working with the individual, because they work in the system, in this context in which things do happen, and they're in charge of multiple teams, etc. And I think having someone who is neutral in the sense of being an insider, someone like in HR or in talent, and keeping us abreast of what's going on. What are you seeing as part of the results of the coaching in terms of their behaviors, instead of what has changed, what are people saying about this leader now. It's imperative for us also to be able either to adapt or modify sometimes what we're doing, or even opening other opportunities for other individuals in the organization that they might also want to interact with their leader or with HR in a different way. Sometimes, as you know, coaching, because of the investment that you're talking about, is not that worldwide, everybody raise your hand and you can be a coach. So sometimes in our discovery, working with certain leaders and teams, we're able also to go to someone like you and identify and said, I wasn't impressed with this other person. they seem brilliant. You know, have you considered giving them some sort of support? It doesn't have to be the coach, but it could be other developmental tools that the organization might be using.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, it does definitely help you triangulate because you're getting the information in just one direction, and you may need additional context to really help steer the coaching engagement in the right way. So yes, we've seen how that kind of collaboration helps a lot. Yeah.
Brenda, in the few minutes we have remaining, what's the length of a typical executive coaching engagement? And when you think about the investment the company's making in executive coaching, what's the value? What's the real value of executive coaching to the organization?
Wow. I mean, let me take the difficult question one, which is the value. And not difficult. I mean, we wouldn't be doing it an offering if we don't feel it is extremely valuable. I mean, the thing is that quantify or describe the value, it varies so much. I would say that as a talent practitioner, for me, for example, to me, I reserve executive coaching for those, the most difficult developmental aspects of somebody's development need. The ones that require a deep understanding of self, so self-awareness, and also uncover and unpack the most difficult behavioral aspects that required to be changed in order for something to work. I separate that from developmental activities that are experiential, that would require, I mean, just for you to master an activity or something different or separate from deeply rooted behavioral change requirements. So that's where I like to, usually recommend coaching. Also, to me, I mean, we get the most value from coaching when the individual is fully engaged. So that would be a good segue to answer your first question, which is the duration. We usually like to establish the initial engagement for 6 months, and it's precisely so that because we feel that gives us enough time to see how the relationship evolves and also confirm that there is the high degree of engagement from the leader, from the coachee. And usually we like to extend that to up to a year. So again, if we see the degree of engagement, if we see the progress in the leader, then that it's a good sentiment. And I really seen most change happen in the course of a year, more so than the 6 months, but we like to at least begin with that initial time frame before we decide to extend to a year.
Thank you for those insights.
Sure.
Excellent. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, those are all our main questions. Anything else that might occur to you that we didn't ask, but that you would like to share with our audience about your experience working with executive coaches?
I think that we cover most of it. I think that, again, we see a tremendous value coming from executive coaches, picking the right combination of the style, the leader, and the development need, to me, is absolutely most critical and important. I think everybody brings something to the table, but it is finding the right match, what really would make the relationship most powerful. We also, one thing that we didn't cover has to do with the diversity space, and also how do we take into account from matching perspective or from a developmental need, elements that have to do with leaders that we consider, in certain minority groups, like, for example, coaching individuals from international locations that are working on engaging with a headquarters in the US, or that type of global type of acumen when leaders have to now move into a role that requires managing people across geographies, for example. So that's an aspect that we didn't talk about, but it's also one that would have a heavy weight in a matching relationship for that to address that particular developmental need.
Yeah. That's a great point. It's a great point. And I think to that, and this is a question that some coaches ask themselves, so I'm gonna ask it to you so you can answer
Okay.
them. You know, how important is it for executive coaches to know your environment, to know, let's say you're in the World Field Services Corporation, how important, or do you see that as a criteria that they know something about the business?
It is a criteria. It has a weight, and that there is the delicate balance on how do we expose the individuals in our pools, you know, equally to that opportunity, because then what ends up happening is that you tend to draw in the same person. And while that is good in the sense that this is somebody who has developed such a strong knowledge of the organization that is almost completely transparent or symbiotic, it can be like one of us because you know the culture so well, then it prevents having the diversity of views and perspectives that we would need by engaging other coaches. So it is a little bit of a challenge, but I do think that, and we tend to do that sometimes, again, go into those individuals who are most knowledgeable about the organization, because that is priceless. From that perspective, it helps the relationship greatly. You save so much time in your discovery when you know the organization and the dynamics, that when you have to start from scratch and start building it. But yeah.
Excellent. So I think our audience have learned a lot from you about 6 months to a year, you know, the power of engagement, the value of coaching, and also the criteria under which you and others are selecting executive coaches. So thank you so much, Brenda, for spending time with us. We're thrilled that you can make up the time and be with us and share your experiences. So thanks.
Anytime.
Yeah, Brenda,
Anytime.
thank you. Thank you for sharing not just your wisdom and experience, but your passion. And I don't do this to embarrass you, but when I look on your LinkedIn page and I see obsessed about matching talent with evolving needs of an organization, I mean, come on, obsessed with matching talent. It's wonderful. So it's you know, it's just incredible. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to not only share your wisdom and knowledge and experience with Marilena and myself, but with the audience that we will be sharing it with. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. I am indeed passionate, but I have to say that I kind of like adopted that kind of like a bold and a strong statement there for actually working from with one of our previous leaders when I was with MasterCard before. And it's contagious. It's hard. It's hard not to get in the bandwagon when you work with leadership who is absolutely obsessed. What is beyond obsession, right? So I identify with that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to get with us today.
Anytime.